Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings, to Idiocracy 2.0, a very strange place where dolls have now male genitalia, where news organizations are saying that it is commanding of respect to show your bare, obese buttocks in a G-string and, just randomly start shaking it for no reason, and a place where meat curtain hoo-hoo scented candles are in high demand and sold to you for $75. Yes, this is the very confusing world that we live in, that we help you understand daily with an independent media organization show that is run here on YouTube, that is also very heavily censored and downranked in the algorithm for doing these types of news reports. And this is why we rely very heavily on your support to continue our work. And if it wasn't for you, we would not be able to give you these free daily videos every single day about all the latest, most important news that you should be made aware of from an anti-establishment perspective. See, there's a lot of news that is absolutely horrible, absolutely divisive, absolutely playing towards a bigger divide and conquer agenda for a special interest, for a gang, and we just don't do any of that. We also don't have a lot of money, but we still exist, mainly because of your support on wearechange.org/donate. So sincerely, thank you everyone for supporting this independent news broadcast. And let's just jump right into it, since there is a lot of news happening in the political circus theater. And when I mean circus and theater, that's exactly what I mean. And that's exactly the picture you probably get when you look at the 2020 presidential race. Well, there's a lot of important updates and there's a lot of important conversations happening right now surrounding Bernie Sanders that has been leading in the polls and has been showing the potential to be a major frontrunner. This is one of the reasons why Donald Trump's campaign has even dubbed him the new Democratic frontrunner. And with this extra attention, of course, he's catching a lot of flack. Project Veritas also released new videos of Bernie Sanders staffers talking about a lot of wild things, including how cities will burn if Donald Trump is reelected. The Project Veritas expose could be viewed on their official Twitter account, which we will link in the description of this video so you could see it for yourself. But it is a Bernie Sanders staffer saying some pretty wild stuff. In response to all of this, a lot of Bernie Sanders aides have actually locked their social media accounts and have been closing it down, which makes sense that most likely more information will be coming out from inside of Bernie Sanders' campaign. Now, Bernie Sanders has also been going through a big conflict with what many people have seen as his political ally, Elizabeth Warren, that in my opinion is definitely punching below the belt in her recent attacks, calling Bernie Sanders, of all people, a quote, sexist. Now, again, I have to keep reiterating this. I am not a fan of Bernie Sanders, but it is interesting to note that recently he has been attacked by a lot of major institutions, including not only being treated unfairly by CNN, attacked viciously by Stephen Colbert, but these latest attacks by Elizabeth Warren definitely do seem contrived and definitely are a sign of a bigger political backstab move that we are seeing in front of our very eyes. That's what a lot of people are classifying this as. But I just wanted to remind you that, again, everything we are seeing here is absolute theater, and most of it is fake. A lot of the promises, a lot of the things that these politicians say that they're going to help you with, that they're going to give you, first of all, they're not doing any of that. They might rob somebody and then decide to give you a crappy service with a middleman mafioso in the middle getting a cut from it, but that's beyond the point. But again, everything we're seeing here is on a stage, and it's theater for a reason, as demonstrated excellently by the tweet by New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio that tweeted how he loved his toasted bagels at a local store that does not toast bagels, showing you how desperate these little pathetic middleman mafioso scoundrels are to try to look like the average Joe, and in reality is just upper establishment elitism that doesn't give a damn about you. And when you're looking at Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, you're also seeing very similar things. Now, another thing that has been happening that I want to bring up on this independent media broadcast is the banning of Stefan Molyneux from MailChimp. That should be worrying to everyone. Now, obviously, MailChimp is a service that we ourselves use and helps us communicate with you through email. As you know, there's been a big push for censorship by big tech that has eviscerated a large portion of independent media. Of course, there are some bad apples in the realm, but essentially when you promote the mainstream media that pushes for war, that pushes for special interests, and you destroy mom and pop operations that are insignificant compared to them, you really have to start asking yourself what's really happening here, and it's really just a push towards control of speech. Now, with Stefan Molyneux, he's an individual that I definitely disagree with on many issues, but he should still have the ability to have speech. But just a very generalized tweet was sent out to MailChimp complaining about not liking Stefan Molyneux, and MailChimp responded by saying, we just totally terminated his account, which is mind-boggling because a lot of people have been seeing email as the safe way to actually have a contact with individuals, to have a direct communication, because the YouTube subscribers, the Twitter followers, the Facebook likes, all of that has been taken away from many individuals, including us, randomly, without notice, without any justification. And as I said in this tweet, I'm saying if you want us to use your service, tell us what policy Stefan Molyneux violated and what was the determining factor to delete his account. And I think calling for accountability, especially about big tech's decision in censorship of speech, is absolutely necessary. If you agree or disagree with the person speaking, that is irrelevant. But cutting the ability of an individual to speak is a massive move that we should be absolutely worried about and should not tolerate. Email, which we thought was a safe haven, well, sadly, no longer a safe haven at all. Now, talking about big authoritative institutions doing whatever the hell they want, let's talk about the American foreign policy that is run by the military-industrial complex, as we are getting more information just moments ago that Donald Trump allegedly, again, and then this is, again, according to the Washington Post from an anonymous source, which should be questioned here, but this wouldn't surprise me if this happened, because this is similar moves that we've seen Donald Trump make in the past. This is similar moves that we have seen George W. Bush and Obama make in the past when it comes to their very aggressive American foreign policy. But according to the Washington Post, Donald Trump threatened Europe with auto tariffs if it didn't support the United States' actions against Iran. And seeing the way that Europe responded, especially the way that Germany responded, it left many people perplexed. Now, France stood very strong on their kind of contempt for it, but also mainly their kind of silence when they're usually very vocal. Germany sent out a very strange letter as if they were hostages, talking about their support for the United States. That confused a lot of people, since Europe and the European Union and many governments in Europe have been major advocates for an Iranian-U.S. deal that could be worked out between the two governments diplomatically and not through brute force, which should always be questioned. And we are also getting information right now that the State Department and Pentagon's briefing with U.S. representatives was abruptly canceled. People are trying to decide why it was abruptly canceled. We're not getting a lot of information to exactly how this happened, what was the reason for it, but I believe personally it's because the official story of there being a quote imminent threat was one of the reasons, with this official story just falling apart, why the Pentagon and the State Department now has to reassess, as even the U.S. Defense Secretary directly contradicts statements of what Donald Trump said when he said specifically that there was 4 U.S. embassies that were under immediate threat. There's also other information coming out that this decision to assassinate this Iranian general was established over 7 months ago. But again, a lot of this is coming from insider White House sources that are still anonymous. But looking at the circumstantial stuff, a lot of this stuff does absolutely add up. And now moving into the next story of just crazy, out of touch, incompetent government that thinks they can do whatever they want, we have the latest news in Virginia where the government declared a state of emergency as they are facing what they are calling armed militia groups that plan to, quote, storm the Capitol. Now, of course, very big move by the state of Virginia, by the local government there, but they're facing a lot of scrutiny. They're facing a lot of protest after trying to pass gun registration, which many advocates say will lead to confiscation in Virginia. This has led many of the local smaller jurisdictions inside Virginia to set up sanctuary Second Amendment states. There is a major rally planned on January 20th where the local government is now outlawing individuals from open carrying. So there's a major protest expected with, this is funny, when I was reading the headline here, with 5,000 people RSVP'd on Facebook, but the government expecting as many as 100,000 people in attendance. There's a big disparity there. I'm thinking about potentially going out there to cover this, and if this is a story that you would want to see me cover, let me know in the comment section below. But I would say that this is a symptom of a very hyperbolic, very kind of fear-mongering, scare-mongering from the government on something that is something that I don't think will be as bad as they say it will be. Now, with the sanctuary local jurisdictions in Virginia, 130 towns and counties now saying that they are going to be stepping away from what the state government wants to do, I don't see this going out as crazy as the government is making it. Now, obviously, the state of Virginia has egg on its face after Charlottesville, which many news organizations and many government agencies are echoing here. But we have to remember here, during Charlottesville, as we reported to you with our interview with Ford Fisher, who was there on the ground, that this was an instant where police officers literally pushed the two protest groups together and then ran away the opposite direction and completely didn't do their job and did the opposite of what they were supposed to do. Obviously escalating the situation and creating the havoc that obviously was the result of their misaction, bringing the groups together, having them essentially fight in the streets like it was just an episode of frickin' Street Fighter. But yet again, I see this as just a hyperbolic, sensational government working with the media, pushing this story that I absolutely don't think will be as bad as they're making it out to be. And we have to remember, when we're watching the news and even independent media, we have to understand that the slogan, if it bleeds, it leads, is still very relevant, to say the least, as of course this is a major kind of manipulation tactic to gain your attention. Now, the only way to really get a reality check, the only way to really see things for what they are, the only way to get to the truth is to open yourself up to criticism and also conversation. And it's okay to not agree with someone. It's okay to raise your voice. And in all absolutes, if you really care about someone, if you really view someone as a friend, you always tell them the truth. You don't lie to them. You don't deny them basic facts and information that will eventually lead them to getting their butt kicked. You just don't do that. You just don't become a butthole. That is the news for today, January 16th, 2020. If you enjoyed it, seriously, share it with your friends and family members. And just like I wanted to end this broadcast, another reminder that it's been 5 months and 5 days since Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. You appreciated this video, share it. Thank you again so much for being a part of independent media. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. Love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.